Hey everybody, this is Todd.
And I'm Jill.
And welcome to the Soulful Creator Podcast. Hey there, welcome back.
Hi guys.
We are here with another fun and love episode. We're going to talk about love today, guys.
This is going to be a good episode. So you guys are so lucky you tuned in.
Yes.
You must need to be here for a reason.
What love is and what
love is not.
Okay. So
we're going to get very clear.
Yes. Jill is a love coach. She's taught a lot to me about love, but she's also again a coach, and she's very well versed on this topic. So
my favorite.
It's one of her
my favorite topics to talk about.
Yes. So there's always this, even at our age, sometimes we forget what love is, right?
Yeah.
Because the world has a big effect on us, right? It's what they think love is. It's a big dopamine rush, romance, all the things that we see in Hollywood and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to tell what love is and what love isn't, and Jill's got a great story that she's going to kind of lead off with about her story of what she found out, what love.
How I became. Yes, I had to study love, you guys. So I told you guys a little bit about, my journey of being separated back in 2012, and then also divorced in 2016. And so there was I was actually separated for almost 3 years. It was a really, really painful time, because, my husband and I were working together every day in the business that I initially was my passion, and we were keeping that going and had over 100 employees. And, at the same time, I had no idea where he was or what he was doing or if he was ever going to come home. And we went through this 2.5 years of just, honestly, you guys, pure hell. It was hell. Not knowing from 1 minute to the next, where he was, what he was doing. I'd get a butt dial in the middle of the night. I mean, it was really a test of me really becoming strong. And that was really the journey when I started to really get in touch with my soul. And it was my soul that was able to help me navigate through all of that. And, initially my thought was I wanted to fix my marriage, right? I was like, okay, this is miserable. How am I going to fix this, right? And whenever we say, how are we going to fix it? We think it's outside of us. I got to go fix that. I got to fix him. I got to fix the marriage, right? And our business was going to fall apart because our personal and our business were tied together. And so, it was pretty scary. But realizing I can't fix all of this that's in the exterior environment. The only thing that I can control is what I feel on the inside. And so, as I started to study the law of attraction. And the law of attraction taught me that like energy equals like energy, right? And so I thought, well, maybe I need to start learning from my exterior environment about what I am on the inside or where I am on the inside, right? And I really thought, if I could love myself, then maybe, just maybe, it will shift my husband's energy and lift my husband's energy to where he will actually be able to open up and love as well. Yeah. So I chose love. And I thought, okay, I am making a conscious choice to choose love, to study it. And I started to realize that the law of attraction was missing an intrinsic element of truth. And that was love. And, I had some single girlfriends that I was hanging out with while we were separated that ended up with my husband. And they, this group that I was hanging out with all claimed to be very enlightened beings. And, I was definitely in this new territory of getting to know new people and just having new experiences. But, when these girls that I was hanging out with both went after my husband, I was like, wow, they don't care about how that affects me, and so that's not very loving. That's not very loving, right?
Yeah.
So as I was starting to study love, I really tried to simplify it and break it down into 4 parts. And I thought, there's 4 parts to myself. There's my heart, my mind, my body, and my soul. And so each one of these parts of me is either aligned with love or not aligned with love. And I need to learn more about how do I raise my vibration and make sure that I am, that my heart's aligned with truth, that my mind's aligned with truth, that my body's aligned with love, right? Truth and love, I use those words, exchange those words. They sort of mean the same thing to me. So I really started to dissect love apart and to study it from the inside out. And I read hundreds of books on love, and then was practicing things in my own life and learning how to love myself. And, during this process, I came up, with one of my books I wrote about, and I came up with a formula called The Recipe for Love. And I started to practice that. And the 4 elements were passion, wisdom, oneness, and then and then creation. So there's these 4 parts that I was trying to embody. And so this journey, as I was going through this journey, there was a time when, the divorce was going through, and even though I was practicing love, I'm like, well, then why is my marriage falling apart? Why isn't it working with him? Right. And what I didn't realize is that it doesn't matter if I am embodying the energy of love and I'm in balance with myself, and my heart, mind, body, and soul are all, emanating love, but my husband is not choosing love. Well, the universe can't force him to love me.
Right.
Just because I'm doing my part and being accountable for my part, my partner cannot be forced to follow love and choose love. And that's when I realized I needed to let it go, and that the universe just doesn't work that way. The universe can only work with souls that are open and flowing with truth and that are leadable, that you can teach, right? And
right.
So, even though some horrible things were happening in my life, and it wasn't because I wasn't loving. It was because I was being elevated to a different, realm, and I needed to leave some old things behind. And all the things that were not aligned with truth were going to fall away from me, and they were falling away from me, and it was incredibly painful. I had to let go of my hugely successful business that I had known for 15 years, and then move from being an entrepreneur to an employee. Do you know how painful that was? To follow my passion, I needed to be free. I needed to be free of the business. I needed to be free of a husband that would absolutely not love me. He just said, I don't, you deserve love, but I don't want to do it. And I'm like, why not? Like, we've been in this together for 22 years. We've built a life together. Why don't you want to love me? But he wasn't choosing love. He wasn't in a place where he could choose love. So that wasn't truth. And love is like, the reason why it's so important that the soul lives in the land of love. It's the land of truth. And anything that is not our truth will just crumble. It's like that. What's the story, the childhood story about building a castle on sand, or what is it? The 3 little pigs, building a house out of straw, right? Or building a house out of brick, right? We need to have a life that has that foundation of truth for us to be able to, really reach our full potential.
So what were some of the experiences that you found out that were not true?
Okay.
That of truth. Let's go there.
So, as I was going through this terrible separation in my marriage, and as it was falling apart, I just kept getting in my reality. Things would happen. Lies would come to the surface, and I don't want to get dirty and tell you all the dirty secrets of what my ex did to me, but he did some pretty horrible things. And I just kept getting this reflection that I was with a partner that was not standing in truth. And that pain kept coming. I kept feeling pain. Girls calling me, telling me that he had a whole secret life and that he had a cell phone and all this other crap that I don't really want to get into. And I'm just like, do I love myself enough to rise? Am I done needing him? I had this thought come to me as I was going through this. My soul said, Jill, you'll be needed like a piece of dough from life. Life is just going to punch the crap out of you and need you until, put it in the oven and rise, right? And it was like I needed to make that choice that I was going to rise, that I was going to love myself no matter what he did. It was about me, my soul, and me doing what's right for my soul, and realizing that I mattered. I mattered enough to free myself from a situation that was illusion. I would never experience the real Jill. I would never experience stepping up into greatness. I would never experience my soul at its truest, most naked self, my most naked truth, my authentic self. I would never have been able to experience who Jill really is had I not cared enough to say yes, accept the highest calling, to learn about love.
Yeah.
And to let myself go on that journey, to challenge myself to rise and align my heart, my mind, my body, and my soul, and my actions. And we'll get more into that later.
So when you said, because you said yes a lot too. Again, that's kind of how anytime we're going on a journey of learning, right, of what things are, we say yes to a lot of things, right? And some of those things we learn. Oh, that's definitely not what I thought it was. Right. Did you have any of those moments of those things? Tell us.
Sure. I mean, initially when my husband left, you guys, one thing you need to know about me was that I got married at a really early age. And I really hate telling people this story, but it's kind of critical for you to understand where I'm coming from. So, I never really had the greatest relationship with my dad. My dad was he was quiet, but when he spoke, he yelled. And he was kind of tall and big and intense and scary. And I think that's where I get my passion and my intensity.
Yeah.
But, I never really had my dad's attention. And I had a sister that was only 9 months older. And she seemed to really bond with my dad. And I was the adventurous one. So when she was in daddy's lap, I was always out climbing trees. I was out on some new adventure. And so there was one time when I was like 5 and it was my turn to sit in dad's lap and read a book and learn how to read. And so as we were reading, something about a big red dog or something, my dad said to me, I just could not get the word the. And he just said, it's the, what the hell is wrong with you? And at that moment, I thought, I am not enough. There's something wrong with me. And it started off my journey in having, a problem with the opposite sex, the masculine part of energy, right? The man, and me being embraced by that masculine side, right? Because I didn't have the greatest relationship with my dad. So what that led to was I was a promiscuous teenager. And the reason, so I had to tell you that to help you understand that what happened next was, in order for me to have love in my life and to get attention from men, I became kind of promiscuous. As I wouldn't want to wear my glasses in school because I wanted to be popular. It was more important for me to be accepted because I didn't have self-worth on the inside. And came a time my junior year, and I had my first real boyfriend, and we were active. And so I went to the drugstore and got some birth control, and I didn't know at that time, in those days, you couldn't get it from Planned Parenthood. And I knew I was in trouble, and I knew that I didn't want to get pregnant. And so I had birth control, and I hid it under my bed. And one day I came home from school, and my mom had done some spring cleaning, and so she'd found it, and she asked me if I was sexually active, and I said yes. So I got grounded from my boyfriend, and then I ended up pregnant. And so the reason why I want to talk about that without really focusing on that, because it was just one of the journeys that helped me on my journey, learn my truth, was, I thought that I was this bad girl. I thought because I was sexually active, I was bad. And my sisters would say that I was the bad girl. And I've had trouble with one of my sisters because she thinks I was like that on purpose, which we're not ever like anything on purpose. I really was trying to protect myself, but I didn't have the confidence and the self-worth to say no. So I ended up getting pregnant. Well, the reason why I talk about that is because fast forward to the time when my husband left me in 2012, what happened was, it was like everything that I thought love was walked out the door. I loved him. Everything that he was, what I thought was mine. I thought that he was a part of me, and all of a sudden that was gone. And then it was like, well, who am I? I don't know who I am now. And so what happened was, after the divorce, and as we separated and went through the divorce, I then picked up from where I started of what I thought love was. And you guys, it meant I went back to my 15-year-old behavior of what I thought love was, which was I thought love equals sex. And, you know, and so, yeah, I was kind of blind. I wasn't seeing my truth yet because I hadn't learned the lessons. Because why? My spiritual growth, learning about my truth, my worth, had stopped at age 16.
Well, you didn't really court anybody except your boy. I mean,
yeah,
you never
I
had
to get married. I got married my junior year, right?
Yeah.
And so, and by the way, I was married for 7 years before I got divorced to that one, and then I just got married again. So I really had been married my whole life, you know, up till age, 44. And so I went back to this old behavior of what my definition of what love was. And started attracting the same type. I started acting the same way because the old belief programs were the same. Was that love was sex, that it was outside of me, that was the only way I was going to be able to reunite with that masculine part of myself, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how that worked. And until what happened was I was, I moved on from my divorce, and I realized that what I was doing in my life wasn't working. And I'm like, I'm a freaking mess. I've had to let go of my business. I have to get a job. I'm here I am in this house, and I'm super unhappy because I don't have someone to share it with. And, so I threw my hands up the air and I'm like, okay, God or soul or higher power or whatever, show me what real love is. Because I obviously don't know what the heck I'm talking about, right? And I was, this whole time, the reason why I wrote books about this, because I was researching every step of the way of what I was going through to learn about what real love was. And this is when I met Brett. And
I'm not Brett,
no,
by the way.
Brett and I were together for 4 years. And Brett came into my life, and this is such a cool story. He shows up at my door like within 2 weeks of me asking, my soul for help. Or the universe, whatever you want to say, that I'm asking, please, I'm open. Show me what real love is. I'll do whatever you say. And I'm opening up, and I'm vulnerable. And then the next thing you know, I'm just about ready to give up on dating because I had all these horrible dating experiences where, I had been attracting narcissists. I had been attracting really my ex in a different body every single time, having the same experiences of rejection, and I'm like, why is Roger showing up in every single person that I'm dating? Why am I attracting that? Why am I looking for that, right? And I obviously had something that I needed to learn. And so Brett shows up at my door, and he takes me on a motorcycle ride up to Midway, and we stop at this rebook store, and we're going through this, where you buy old books. And I kind of like bump into a shelf, and my hip hits a table, and a book falls on the floor, and it's called Real Love.
By Greg Baer.
By Greg Baer, which changed my life. Yeah. And it changed Brett's life too. And our souls began a journey of learning a different way of redefining what real love was. And I love, the biggest, I think that there's a couple things in that book.
Love is given freely.
Love is given freely. So yes. What it said is in order for love to be received, it has to be given freely in order to be received like a gift. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, so I could never force Roger to love me. I could never force someone to love me. That needed to be their choice. I really started to learn that love was not a contract, because the old human way of my view of love was, hey, if you wine and dine me, if you pay for the bills, if you keep the job, if you're the responsible one, I'll love you.
Yes,
I'll give you in return, and I'll give you what you think love is, which is sex, or I'll give you, I'll be skinny and beautiful and sweet, and and then guys have the way that they look at a contract. They kind of look at women that way too, right?
Oh yes.
It's like, why aren't you giving me sex, right?
Right. Exactly. And then the whole imitation. That's part of the imitation.
Yeah,
love,
so
right?
Greg Baer talks about imitation love, and he's, it's what our culture is telling us about love, is that it's romance. And we look on the billboards, on the side of the freeway, or in all the advertisements, is that you're not enough. You need this makeup. You need these eyelashes. You need this hair extension. You need to lose weight. You need this pill. You need Romance, you need to be having adventure. You need to be having dopamine. You need to be having those feel-good hormones, constantly chasing adrenaline and having dopamine and new experiences. And, that can go into, you need to have all these crazy sexual experiences and threesomes and open relationships. And, you need to have more, right? We're chasing the more game, wondering what the hell is love?
Right. And I love the getting procedures, like the things that we try to do to get them to love us. Right. That's a big thing.
And, Greg talks about getting behaviors is that, and it's really, if you think of energy, it's like, if my core being, my soul is in my core center, and that's responsible for making love and self-worth to keep me going. If I'm not generating if my battery isn't turned on, if my soul hasn't been sparked and is providing my own source of love, then I'm going to be super needy. And I'm going to need you to approve of me, and I'm going to need you to admire me and feed my ego, and I'm going to need you to appreciate everything that I do and recognize me, and I need to be seen, validated, and heard, and because I can't do it myself, right? So it's all now I'm super needy. I'm up to someone outside of me is controlling my happiness because I don't want to do the work to learn how to love myself.
Right. And I think the beauty of that book was, at least what I got of it, was that true love is loving without getting anything back in return. That's kind of what the summary, in a way, like we're loving because we want to, and we're not doing it for any other reason, and we're not expecting anything in return.
And right? the way that I love to teach this concept of that love is a choice and that has to be freely given in order to be received is, imagine if you have this gift and you've wanted this thing and you've wanted it so bad and you've been online looking at it and you just want it so bad, but you want, maybe you can't afford it or something, right? Our old perspective, the human way of thinking what love is it sounds like this. It says, okay, I want this. I don't want anything else. I want it in a shiny red box, in beautiful paper. I want this big, huge green bow on it. And I want my boyfriend, this particular person, to bring it to me. And they better not be 5 minutes late. And I want it to bring it to me here at this particular time. Well, and that's just not how the universe works.
That's right.
Right? Because the universe has to work through life forms, through human beings, right? That energy of soul comes through human beings, and only those beings that are aligned with love can show up as love. Okay, so if my partner isn't aligned with love, he's not going to show up at my door. And also, if I'm not showing up as love and I'm not playing my part and doing my part and going out there and being love and spreading love and generating love and living my passion, do you think that magically, if I stay in my bedroom, with the lights off and don't come out of the sheets, that love's going to show up in my life? No, it just doesn't work like that. So, imagine that when you're learning about love and how to co-create with the universe, or to be, reunited with your soul so that you're creating from that soulful place, that's about realizing how the soul works. And the soul lives in the land of love, which is a realm of free agency.
And that perfectly segues into the second book.
Yes.
Spiritual Partnership by Gary Zukav, which
love him so much.
Read his, and it's been a great one that we've actually talked about. So share a little bit of your thoughts about spiritual partnership.
So spiritual partnership really talks about, the old way of being, the human 1.0, and the fact that we're rising and elevating our experience of life to human 2.0. That this new world. Eckhart Tolle also has a book, about that. And so there's this transition that's happening, and what spiritual partnership is about is first, the first phase of being a spiritual partner is really learning how to let your soul live and to come to life as a spiritual partner, which means that that I am responsible after age 50 to make sure that in my third act, I've done my work. I've done my soul work, that I know my soul, it's fully alive. It lives through me. I know how to, I allow my soul to have a say. I allow it to express itself. I allow it to have desires. And the human part of me fulfills my desires. And also that the soul helps us heal the human experience, which is a huge part of, I would say that's really, phase 2 is the healing part, right? So phase 1 is, will we be open enough to answer the higher call, to go on the soulful journey? Phase 2 is, how does our soul guide us through this healing process of rebalancing ourselves and coming back to wholeness by reuniting the human and the soul?
Right.
When I say healing, I'm talking about the fact that our old way of being that Gary Zukav talks about, our human ways, we're learning to let go of those. And there's a part of us that's, there's this reprogramming of the mind. There's us listening to the heart and living our passion, right? There's learning how to reunite, to have our soul and to live from a place of wholeness and oneness, and part of that is recognizing that, we don't need to be angry and mad about the soul's evolution, and that it was always intended that the human was going to be in charge for the first, for the first, who knows how many thousands of years before the soul would awaken. But that human part of us that we had to develop first, the human had to establish itself and establish a way of life, the game of life, whatever, and get to the point where we were ready to become conscious beings and remember truth. And we had to live in the land of lies and illusion and limitation and lack until we've had enough, until we were ready to bring truth through the soul. And then in that moment, then the human can then start to really serve the soul and start to bring truth, and to elevate our experiences. As soulmates living on the planet, we're having a soulful experience.
So from a relationship perspective, in Gary's book, what I remember, it's the biggest impression that I had was that it's about keeping each other accountable, right? And really holding each other to a standard that is unlike a lot of relationships today, right? Where it's a lot about being honest with each other and saying, hey, I don't think you're, being my true reflection, right?
Right.
So thoughts on that?
So, you can't really be a spiritual partner and stand in truth and embody love unless you've done your work. Right. So, we all where we are, everyone is where they are on their soul journey. And it's a soul journey, meaning it's an individual journey, SOLE, right?
Yes.
And so we're all in a different place and there's no judgment around it. The soul will grow and it has an infinite amount of time to learn, right? But we really want to take advantage of having the body and being able to have that physical. It's like a chemistry project. We get an immediate reaction in the physical realm to see who we're being. And so what spiritual partnership is about is realizing that through other life forms, if I'm embodying a certain vibration, how I act is what I attract. If I act selfish, I'm going to attract selfish. If I act a narcissist, I'm going to attract a narcissist. If I act addicted, I'm going to attract an addiction, right? And so if I act judgmental, I'm going to attract people that are judgmental, because who I am is who you are, and that energy just vibrates. People hang around with the people that are like themselves, right? People like and know people like themselves. So that's why that's the law of attraction part of energy. So when it comes to being a spiritual partner, if we really want to raise that bar, we have to do the work on the inside to learn how to open and get in alignment with the soul's home, which is the land of love. We have to really get in alignment with that on all parts of ourselves. Our energy and our emotions. That's our heart. And our mind needs to have our thoughts and our belief systems aligned with the energy of love. And our body needs to be aligned with not reacting and behaviors that are not aligned with love, but creating from a conscious place. And then the soul obviously is not in the place of ego, because that's very human, edging God out. But the soul comes from a place of oneness, of being aligned with all that is, and connection, not separation, but connection. So we have to do that work in order to really be the truth and to help you be accountable. So if we've had a couple of scenarios where some challenges have what's the right word? Arisen. Is that a word? Anyway, where when your ex-wife texted me, right, and said, when you want to know the truth, let me know. And I'm like, okay, well, what am I missing out on? What hasn't Todd told me, right? Am I ready to hear the truth about Todd, And she brought that, and I thought, yeah, I'm game. Tell me the truth about Todd, And so she and I had a 2-hour conversation, and
freaked me out. Yeah.
But Allison, his ex, was really just my old self. And so us having a conversation together really helped, I think, both of us heal and be able to, embrace the past for what it was and what it needed to teach us and learn us, and help me see myself as the old Jill and help her see herself. And we were able to be spiritual partners. Allison and I, even though we've never met, I said yes to that. I said, sure, I'll do that soul work. I'm being called to do some soul work. I'd be happy to help Todd heal and help his wife heal. Why? Because I knew that Allison was my old self, and and Todd is like my Roger, right? Like, we're healing through each other. I don't need to be with Roger, to the person that hurt me. Todd brings a similar energy of unhealed emotional baggage into my physical reality so that I can see it and learn from it and embrace it and thank it. Right? Because that's the only way that we can actually heal from this emotional baggage. We have to embrace it and bring it home back into the heart and love all those parts of life for what it's taught us.
Okay. We got to end here.
Pretty heavy stuff.
But it is. Well, there's more to that story.
Interesting, though, right?
What she talked about. There's a lot more. We're going to be going in and out of different things, but again,
but tell us if you like what we're talking about. We want to know.
We love to hear. And again, get those 2 books: Real Love by Greg Baer and Spiritual Partnership. They are
Gary
a must.
Zukav. Yes, must
read.
They'll change your life.
And we'll refer to them a lot.
Yes.
In this podcast. So, all right. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
and
guys.
we will talk to you soon. Bye.